Hey everyone, this is Self Made Millennial. I'm Madeline Mann, and I'm joined today by Baily Hancock, a career happiness strategist. And we are going to talk about how to spin your career pivot as a strength.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Madeline, for having me, because this is a topic that comes up all the time in workshops I teach and talks that I give and with my clients. People often come to a place in their career where they want to make a switch. They want to trade industries, they want to trade roles, and the thing that stops them a lot of times is, well, how am I going to pitch this in a way that doesn't make me look flaky or doesn't make my resume look like a chaotic disaster? And there's a lot of ways to do this, but the biggest way you can start off is finding the through line in your career. So what does that mean? Basically, what you're looking for is, what is the common thread across all the jobs that you've had, and how does that lead into the job that you're going after or the industry that you're trading into?
I've noticed a lot of candidates come in and bring their experience and spin it in the right way, but it's where do we even start to know how that we personally spin our experience, since we're all have these different we're coming at it from different angles?
Totally. I mean, it can be really hard to actually look at your own career and think, oh, there's my through line. It's super obvious, because it's not always super obvious. You sometimes have to do a little bit of digging. Here's a quick little way that you can figure it out. So I call this identifying your professional bag of tricks. So what's everything you've got in your toolkit that make you into the person that you are as a worker? So these are all of your connections. So everybody you've connected with, all your past colleagues, past clients, past customers, people you went to school with, that's your connections. So who are all the people in your network? Because it kind of help you identify like who you are in your community to these people. Then you think about what's all of your experience. So not just your job function, like if you were in marketing and you did X, Y, and Z every day, yes, that's part of your experience, but there's so much more that you do day in and day out, and how you do it that goes into all of your experiences. So there's that. And then of course there's everything you know, all of your knowledge. These are all of your skills, your strengths, the things you went to school for, the certifications you've gotten. So when you lay out your experience, your knowledge, and your connections all out on the table, you start to get a pretty good picture of who you are as a professional. And you can start to see, for me, I realize all the jobs I've ever had, I brought kind of a collaborative mindset to the table. So I've actually traded jobs and professions a lot in my career so far. I've bounced around from various industries, different roles, and every time I go in to get a new job, I have to sit there and think, okay, out of everything I've done, what's the common thread? And so if you're still having trouble, you can ask yourself this very simple question. What problem do I often solve in a role?
Yeah.
What is it that I bring to the table? That's the thing. That's your superpower. That's your through line. That's your lens. That's what you pitch yourself as.
I feel like the value here is that you are the same person throughout these whole jobs, and to stop thinking that I am in these certain buckets,
right,
and branding yourself as this complete person with lots of different skills,
exactly,
lots of different perspectives, and that is highly valuable.
Absolutely. And something that's really important to do as you're going into the interview process and the job hunt process and application process, it's one thing to identify what your superpower is, right? It's one thing to figure out like, oh, I'm a collaborator. That's great. But how do you actually weave that into the narrative of your cover letter, your resume, the job application, and then the interview? So it kind of goes back before you even start applying. One of the most important things you need to do is start letting the people in your community and your network know where you're trying to go. That you need to let them know like, hey, by the way, I'm starting to transition into marketing. I know I've been doing law for a long time, but I'm excited about this new switch. So, if you hear of anything, keep me in mind.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're positioning yourself in people's minds as this new type of role, as this new person in this new industry, because the best thing you can do when transitioning into a new industry or career is put the people in your network to work for you.
Yes.
Help them help you.
Right. And I've noticed people are a little shy sometimes to say, especially internally in a company, hey, I'm also interested in this area. So it's kind of getting over that fear of kind of exploring, hey, here's where my career is going, and getting people on your side,
yes,
right?
And then as this is happening, what you should be doing over here is you need to start kind of rewriting your career history, if you will, on your resume, your LinkedIn. And that's not to say you're making stuff up. What you're doing is going back and looking at each of those experiences, and instead of highlighting specifically what you did in that role that spoke to, say, your past profession, you're looking for ways that you can pull in this new type of job function into those old experiences and highlighting that. So if you're trying to get into marketing and you've done only law, what you're going to do is go back to your resume in each of those experiences, pull out ways and bullet point ways that you incorporated a marketing job function into that role. So maybe you'll say, gained increased clients by 25% through networking opportunities and speaking on panels. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what did you do in that role that had a marketing focus, even though you were a lawyer at the time?
Exactly. And I think people are a little nervous to kind of take off all the other things that they were doing in that job, because then it seems maybe a little thin, or that they're ignoring the major meat of that job. But you're curating it, right? You're giving them a snapshot.
That's a perfect word. You're curating your experience. And the same goes for your cover letter. The cover letter, I would argue, is the most important piece when you're making a big career change, because that's where you get literally a couple paragraphs to explain what the hell you're doing, right? Like if you're going from law to marketing, the person reading that cover letter is going to want answers. They're going to want to be like, wait, what? Why should I even give you a shot? That's where you get to really dig into this new narrative. And don't be afraid if you are trying to trade into something different. In fact, I think that's fantastic for your career. I'm a huge fan of experimenting in your career and trying new things. And never forget, you're never going to start over in your career. You couldn't possibly if you tried, because you are the combination of everything you've done, everything you've learned, and all the people you know. And you as a whole package is totally worth hiring. So don't get in your head about it.
Well, amazing tips, Baily. I've already learned so much. So let's do a review.
Okay, so quick recap. What you're looking for when you're trading industries, roles, making a career switch of any kind, you're looking for that through line. If you're having trouble finding this, again, look back to your bag of tricks, your professional bag of tricks. Who do you know? What do you know? And what have you done? And then to recap on what you do with that knowledge, make sure that you're kind of curating your resume so that it's highlighting the experience that you want to showcase for this new role. You're rewriting your cover letter to explain yourself and paint the picture. And then in the interview, you're really telling that career story. You're really painting the entire picture of who you are as a worker and what problems you're going to solve in that role and why they would be crazy to not hire you. Perfect.
Well, thank you so much. And where can we find you?
I make it very simple. I'm at Baily Hancock, but Baily with no E. So Baily Hancock, Hancock, on all the things.
All the things. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on Self Made Millennial.
My pleasure.
And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Good luck.